Hello, welcome back to BrandsTalk, a show to help you develop and grow your brand in a more authentic, strategic, and sustainable way, locally and globally. Whether it is your personal brand or company brand, your product or service level brand. I'm your host, Brigitte Bojkowszky. Everyone calls me Bridget. I'm excited to have meaningful and fun conversations with thought leaders from different parts of the world, CEOs, business owners, managers, experts who tell their brain stories and share their valuable first-hand insights. So let's get started and dive with me into the world of brains. I'm so excited to have Katja Marianne Noordam as my guest today. She is Dutch Belgian by origin and a world citizen by choice. Always interested in crossing frontiers in her personal and professional life, she has worked and lived in different countries on different continents. Several years ago, Katja launched Fair Change. With this service providing business, she helps purpose driven entrepreneurs and small and medium sized companies plan, measure, and increase their positive social impact. She is also founder and owner of Kathmandu Media, which she started in 2001. At Kathmandu Media, her mission is to provide organizations combining profit and purpose with communications and branding strategies that tell their positive impact stories in a captivating way. With her two enterprises, Fair Change and Kathmandu Media, Katja builds on the lessons she learned in her previous career in the social and international development sector. She now uses her experience with leadership development of vulnerable groups, sustainability, and cross cultural communications to help local and global businesses be successful agents of positive social change. I warmly welcome Katja Noordam. Welcome to BrandsTalk.
Hi, Bridget. Wow, I love how you did that introduction. You're my best ambassador. Really happy to be here. We had been planning this for a long time, and many things came in between. But I'm really happy that we made it, and we're chatting online now for interested audiences. And yeah, I hope to share some of my learnings and experiences. And always happy, of course, to have your input also and your insights, which makes for wonderful conversations. Always, I'm a follower of your podcasts and your lives now that you recently started doing. So yeah, I congratulate you for that. I'm an admirer of yours.
Oh
So
my goodness. Katja, thank you so much. And I feel privileged. I'm honored to have you as my guest today. Yeah, and as you said, we have known each other already for a bit. We're so called business besties. We are together in an accountability group of business besties to pursue our endeavors into the online course creator businesses. So to give the audience an idea of what you're doing, Katja, you are a world citizen by choice, like I am actually, and you recently moved back to your home country, that's the Netherlands, with your 12-year-old daughter after almost a decade in Colombia. Could you delve into that period of time in your life a little bit of why Colombia and what made you come back to Europe?
yeah, sure. Yeah, why Colombia? Well, that originates from a desire I had been having for a long time since I finished high school, actually, or even before that, to go and live and work in Latin America. Only it took me it took me quite a long time. Life took different turns, and I had several setbacks on a personal level. I cannot say on a professional level, but anyway, there were a lot of hurdles that I had to overcome before finally taking the step. So I actually, at that moment, I had already launched my Kathmandu enterprise, which was focusing on communications for I mainly worked at that moment for clients in the social sector, in the not-for-profit sector, some public organizations, some private enterprises also. And at that time, I did interesting work. Actually, it was not. I was not the. Mine is not the story of being fed up with your work and looking for purpose in your life. I really had really interesting assignments. I yeah, worked for really interesting organizations, committed as I was to promoting social good. And but there was something nagging. I wanted something more. And yeah, as I said at the start, that desire to go and leave my country and discover Latin America. I had this feeling that I wanted to be there. And I was I was a shy person when I was young. I was insecure. I was doubting a lot of things. I was not a really confident person. So I really kept on saying or letting myself being told, why Latin America? Why leave your home country? Why do this? What will you do there? What challenges will you have to confront? And so I just, I didn't do it until I was, 30 something to 31, 32. And then I saw my friends, my dear friends, buying homes, having children, investing in solid and predictable futures. And I thought, no, this is not what I want. I mean, this is not the life that I am seeing for me. So then I started thinking, okay, well, if this has been in your head, this thing about going away and discovering the world and really offering what you have to offer the world in other contexts, then you really have to take some steps to do so. So I decided I wanted to work in international cooperation in human rights and in Latin America, which I didn't know much about. But yeah, combining the two things, wanting to work in human rights and in international cooperation, Colombia was an easy choice because the country had been involved in a 50-year-long conflict, and yeah, there was a lot of human rights work to do actually. So I took first. I learned Spanish. I went to Spain. I taught myself Spanish, and then I took the step and I went and worked with a small human rights organization, which, despite being tiny, eeny meeny, did a lot of good work, and yeah, managed to create positive change for people that we accompanied: human rights defenders, female activists, community leaders, internally displaced people. So we protected them and we made it possible for them to pursue their work. We did political lobbying. So this was one of the most fulfilling jobs I had, and I put aside everything else to do this job, which was not a well-paid job, but really really fulfilling.
Wonderful. That sounds so interesting. And you were hesitant at the beginning to leave your country, but you did this bold move anyway. And I'm sure that was really enriching, and all the experience that you gathered and kind of, yeah, completes your life and makes you ready for everything you're doing right now, because you need exactly that experience to go forward with all what you're doing. And in 2014, you have started another company. It's called Fair Change. So, in that way, you are a business and social impact coach. Can you also tell us a little bit about that? And why did you start this company in the first place, since you already had a company?
Mhm. Yeah, really. Yeah, the two enterprises are the result of two passions I have. So one was communications and yeah, communicating other people's stories to the world, other organizations, best practices, reaching diverse audiences by communicating their positive results in a compelling way. So that has been one passion throughout my years, throughout my working years, I must say. And the other one was, yeah, helping organizations do social good. So when there was always this feeling when I was focusing only on communications, I kind of missed the strategic part because you can communicate a lot about doing good, but if it doesn't really come from the core of your organization, of your business, then it's just a marketing message. And or you really are a socially driven organization, but you don't plan, implement and measure your positive social impact well. So I always, when I was only focusing on communication, I missed that strategic part. And when working only on a strategic side with organizations, because I've always been doing both, then I miss the communication part because they go hand in hand, I think. So I thought, yeah, why not launch an enterprise that focuses exactly on that, complementing my other passion, my other commitment to helping organizations communicate their impact well. And I must add, there was really a moment that stands out for me when when I really realized that I had to start working with businesses, because when my communications business, Capmondo, is focuses on different clients in different sectors, which have as a common theme, wanting to do social good, but they can be profit or non-profit or public organizations. With Fairchange, I really focus on the business side, on enterprises, on small and medium companies, sized companies, but also on larger value-driven businesses. And I decided to work with businesses because throughout all my work for social sector and nonprofit organizations, working with excluded groups or with really vocal social leaders, helping them to be even more effective in their pursuing of their social goals, I felt I had to involve businesses too. Why? Because there was this moment when this insight like landed on me when I was working in Colombia, in one of the far away, isolated tropical regions of the country, forgotten by the rest of the world, no government authority in place. So that was really a free a free zone for illegally armed groups and for businesses that really were like the school book example of doing what I call socially irresponsible business. So they paid illegally armed groups. They paid paramilitary groups to terrorize local communities, neighboring communities that they should have a fluid relation with, but instead they chased those people away. They robbed their land. They didn't rob it, but they, with a gun pointed at the heads of people, almost literally, they paid like ridiculous amounts of money, like small money for huge pieces of land. So people went away, and there were just small groups of people who decided to resist. And they had no decent homes. They were living under plastic. They had no money to pay for shoes or for diapers for their kids. So it was really terrible, terrible. And there was no communication between the company and the community. There was only mistrust. There was only mutual, like, complaints. So I thought, we can do a lot working with communities, empowering people to be stronger, to defend their rights well. But we cannot stop there. We also have to work with businesses. So yeah, we have to really convince businesses that they, instead of what this particular company in that particular part of the country did, they planted palm oil trees. So they had destroyed the biodiversity, and they created so many social tensions, human rights offenses, etc. So, but I mean, on the beautiful side, what could have been was a biodiverse region where company worked together with the community, provided jobs, really added to the well-being of the people. So that was the moment that it just landed on me. I thought, yeah, I have to work with businesses too. And I have to use this experience that I have with working with diverse, vulnerable communities, and I have to put that experience at the service of businesses and really creating awareness about another way of doing business, and telling them about human rights, and also convincing them, which so much marketing research has proven to be true. I mean, if your environment is doing well, then your business is doing better. So, I mean, there's also a solid business case for doing social good. So that was the moment that this landed on me, and I started. I did a master in corporate social responsibility at one of Colombia's top universities that has a partnership with Columbia University in the USA. And I launched myself in that area, in that work area, and that's what I've been doing since.
Wow, that's unbelievable. You are an extraordinary woman. You have experience that goes so deep with when it comes to social purpose, when it comes to helping companies transition from, let's say, just making profits into the whole new world of also giving back something. So, what is the transition exactly? So, what are the desires that company come to you with that you can help them? What is that?
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. It really, of course, it depends. I mean, businesses are like people; we're all different. So really, the needs can be diverse, but mainly some common threads depending on the type of business. To my work and to the needs of the businesses I work with are. There are these larger businesses that have a long trajectory, a long history, and that usually were not founded with a wish to do good. I mean, they're the representatives of what we're talking a lot about nowadays. This traditional economic model of shareholder economy, where the main purpose of a business is making profits by being funded by investors who have no interest in creating positive social impact, but their main interest and their main raison d'etre is making profits. And I mean, we can point our fingers at that now and say, yeah, how could you? But that was just the way things usually were. I mean, there are exceptions. There are interesting global companies that actually were founded with an additional goal of doing social good, but they're not the majority, so to say.
Mm.
So that is the type of company that typically comes to me asking, how should we do this transition? How should we sell our social drive internally? For example, one thing that something that often happens, that there is a sustainability department or a community relations department or whatever it's called, and they have really devoted people with a heartfelt commitment to doing good for the communities or suppliers in the supply chain of the business. And then there's the financial department who looks at that with suspicion and says, yeah, but where's the return on investment of our social costs? They don't see it as a benefit. They don't see the tangible and intangible benefits that doing good brings to a company. So there can be this internal tension within a company that people ask me to help solve, or getting a team on board with an issue that is a bit abstract if you're not from that area, as human rights. I mean, what is that? Well, that's something really concrete, really day to day, that you can apply in the lives of your workers, of the communities you work with, your neighbors, your suppliers. But how to explain that to an internal organization? So these are some of the things that people, that larger businesses, I must say, come to me to find help, and of course communicating this positive social impact that they wish to make. And then there's another, well, let me say two audiences. Then there's the smaller, medium-sized company that already has some trajectory and that does a lot of social good, but they don't know how to plan that well, and how to showcase their positive impact, and how to communicate that in a positive and convincing way, and how to increase that positive social impact. So that's more about working with companies that already have this drive to do good, but help them organize their strategies well.
Mm.
And then there's the startups. There's a lot of startups, and yeah, there have been among them one of the most fulfilling organizations to work with for me, because fortunately many new companies are really fruit of this new economic model of where the shift has been from away from this shareholder capitalism to stakeholder capitalism, where it is important what your social stakeholders think, what your social audiences think, and balance that with the shareholders and their interest. And even within investors, the fastest growing market within the investor market globally are the so-called impact investors. So it's an issue that is much more mainstream and becoming more and more mainstream today than it was 10 years ago. So working with these small entrepreneurs is often about how to find your area of major impact, how to define that, how to define your values, how to define your mission, and how to set out to create a sustainable and profitable business, while balancing profits with purpose and positive impact.
Yeah, great. So, my question to you, what is your vision and what is your purpose?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, that must be will be no secret after we after having heard me speak. Yeah, my vision is to create a world where there is a balance between profit making and doing positive social impact, where I think we must shift away from a model where we look at each other as businesses, as communities, as individuals, and looking at each other and pointing at each other saying, you should do better, you should do this, you are acting in a way that is hurting my interests. Where we collaborate, and I think that we can all be more happier people living in a healthier planet if we cooperate between sectors and not turn our backs onto each other, but really complement each other and use the different strengths that we all have.
Okay, so for companies who are shifting their focus from just making money, making profit, to more a purpose-driven brand, to leave a legacy behind, to really focus on giving back to the society. So sometimes this transition is not easy. Where should they start? Do you have any, let's say, key steps, the four pieces of advice, what they can start with making this shift?
Yeah, yeah. Really, start with why. We all know that sentence. I mean, the famous Simon Sinek's golden circle. I mean, it's not a coincidence that this is such a strong message that resonates in so many sectors with so many companies. Really start with defining who you are, where you come from, and what difference you want to make to the world. Maybe if you are a larger company, it was not you who founded the company. Maybe the founder's interests were not the socially committed interests and engagement that the board has today. Then define that why. Then recreate that why. Maybe you weren't born out of a social drive, but that's where you are now. So really define a strong message around that. Do not do that in a top down way. Really involve your internal stakeholders, really involve your employees, your different management levels, and define that reason of being that you feel today. Define your values. Values are so incredibly important. And I mean, value statements, each company has them, but really live them. Really make them a tangible, concrete thing in the day to day work and operations of your business. Invite your employees to share the ways in which they implement those company values. They are not working with you by coincidence. They were attracted by your values because they want to have meaningful work. So if you have defined, I don't know, just to name something, honesty or service as a value, well, how do your employees live that? Really have them express the way they relate to these values, because that is what makes values living things, and that really feeds into your brand personality, and feeds into building trust
Mhm.
with your internal and your external audiences, with your customers, because all too often we see that just a nice socially driven brand story is being told, which is not really related to the core of a business, or which is like a screen that hides some practices that are not so socially responsible at all. So it really is about being clear and authentic in what it is you stand for, and really try to implement that in all aspects of your business. Of course, this is easier when you're a solo entrepreneur and you control all different aspects of your small company. A solo entrepreneur or a small or medium-sized company, for them it is often more easy to control all these aspects and to have these values and this authenticity permeate all their actions. For a larger company, it's often a bit more difficult, but it's not impossible at all.
Mm. Yeah, that brings me to the next question, authenticity. Yeah, behind every company, whether it's a company of, yeah, a small company or a large company, behind every company brand, there is a person, there are human beings, and usually yeah, those are the ones that are strong personal brands. And you have two companies, and you're also launching a podcast soon. We come to that a little bit later. And in your area, you are a thought leader. You are really making a difference for companies and people in this world. Yeah, so now I would love to hear from you. In your opinion, what makes an authentic self? What is a strong, authentic personal brand?
Yeah, I think authenticity as a brand, as a personal brand, is all about really defining your own unique characteristics. So that's values. I already mentioned it. Values are so important, and it's um, you cannot just take some values of a list because you think they sound right. Well, you can actually do it. It is a starting point. I mean, it's a method that you can follow as a business. Start with a list, see which words best most resonate with you, but then the next and the most important step is to give them your own meaning. So a value, whichever word you choose, or action oriented phrase, or however you want to formulate your value statement, start with giving your values a past, a present, and a future. So if again, honesty is one of your preferred core values, okay, well, then look at your future. Where do you come from? Where does this value originate? What are some pivotal moments within your personal history or your professional history, or both, that really evidence that honesty is a driving force for you in your actions and in your decision making? So this is not an easy process. That this takes its time, but these really are the foundations of the brand stories that you will tell of your brand personality. And then there is characteristics. I mean, that's why the word of brand personality is so nice. It's such a good image, because that's what we really are as entrepreneurs. We are brand persons. We have our values that drive us, and then we have our specific characteristics that are based on these values. And that's the way we present ourselves to the world. That's the way we act. That's the business. That's how we do business. That's how we contribute to a better world. So these are really important, crucial aspects of being an authentic brand. Authenticity as a brand is also connected to your customer problem. What am I saying?
Challenge.
Your your customer promise. Gosh, I'm introducing problems where there are no problems at all. Your customer promise. So the value you create for your customer should be aligned with your core commitments, with your core values as a brand, to be authentic. In order to be authentic, I already mentioned, there are all too often marketing stories are told with a nice social sausage, like, which are not sauce with a nice social sauce, which are not really that authentic. And customers will punish you for that. Customers will stop buying. Customers will turn away to other companies that they do believe in, because other companies have proven to be really true to themselves. And then there is, alongside this customer value proposition, there is what I like to call the social value proposition. That is the promise you make to your beneficiaries, to be it your suppliers, be it your workers and their families, or be it your neighboring communities that you want to give back to. So all these should be balanced, and should be complementary, and should be true, to be really an authentic personal brand.
Thank you so much. Thank you. That is a wonderful explanation from your perspective. I love that. And you are an unstoppable woman. You're not only the CEO of two companies, you're also in the making of a podcast. It's called Embrace Purpose, Grow Impact. So, what is your intention starting your podcast?
Yes, well, I have been playing with this idea for too long. I mean, many things have come in between, so I didn't launch it yet. But I did the first several interviews with some really interesting entrepreneurs that I will feature on the first episodes of my podcast. So, embrace, purpose, grow, impact is really about these two things that I have been mentioning in our chat so far, like being a purpose-driven business and creating real positive impact. So, in my work, I have met so many entrepreneurs that have really interesting stories to tell. They can be, I don't know, a small coffee producer in the mountains, in the Colombian mountains, or they can be a medium-sized health company somewhere in the Horn of Africa, or they can be a global company that is really turned into a value-driven, or maybe founded as a really value-driven company. So there are so many stories that are really interesting to tell. So that's what I like to do with my podcast. So it will be an interview based podcast, and there will be also episodes where I'll be the talking subject. Because I also want to share some learnings about some particular issues that I'm working on and that I'm promoting. So, what is this? What is purpose? What are values? How to develop them with some tips and advice. And yeah, what I have also found in my work with other enterprises is that there's a real need for sharing these stories and learning from others, because I mean, creating social impact and pursuing a higher purpose, it all sounds beautiful, but it's not easy. I mean, there are a lot of dilemmas, there are a lot of problems, there are a lot of hurdles that you have to overcome to really be that authentic, socially driven brand. So there's a lot of demand for these other enterprises stories. What are the dilemmas other organizations encounter? How do they tackle them? What are their solutions? What do they struggle with? So I want to surface all those challenges that real life enterprises encounter and the innovative and creative solutions they find.
Mm. So, Katja, you talked about learnings. Now, you as a personal, socially driven brain, I would like to know from you what is a major learning in your life that was really hard for you? Something, a detour that was significant of how it shaped you and how it made you think and how you have grown from it going forward. Would you like to share one of your major learnings with us?
Yeah, which setback shall I pick? There are so
One.
many and many learnings. Yeah. Yeah, I think one of the most foundational setbacks, if I can call it like that, and learnings stems from when I was young. As I already said, I was a really shy person, really insecure, and yeah, I think there's a lot of misunderstanding around being shy. I mean, it's it has to do with fear, with a profound lack of self confidence, but it is often seen by other people as something completely different, like being antisocial, being badly educated, not wanting to talk with other people because you think you're too good. It has been in my case. I mean, I've encountered all these kinds of reactions that didn't really understand what it was all about. It has been seen as arrogance. It has been seen as a choice that I made to close myself off from the rest of the world. So, and then it is reconfirmed by everything and everyone. And yeah, I remember I had a really good friend, because it often has to do with public spheres, and in private you can be, if you think you're really in a comfortable situation, you can be exuberant and creative and fun to be with. So actually I had a really good friend. She was one of my best friends. She was maybe my best friend, and we always had loads of fun playing together. And when I was about, I don't know, 8 years old or something, she invited a third girl to play with us, which was a close friend of hers. I didn't know that girl. And then she introduced this girl by saying, "Yeah, this is Katja. She's ugly and she's stupid and boring, but my mom tells me I should play with her." So that was like a dagger through my heart. I mean, coming from the person that I trusted and that I knew to be my friend. So yeah, then it's like an ever confirming situation of feeling excluded and being excluded. And so yes, then I gradually overcame that. How did I do that? Not by seeing a therapist, because that was not there at the moment when I grew up. I mean, I'm from an era where where there was no kids coaching, where there was no child therapy, where there were no yeah, there was just no yeah, there was no external support. So it had to come from within me. So it's about taking, that's one of the lessons that I learned. It's about taking small steps towards overcoming your inner devils and turning those into positive things. So I started, for example, I who never could communicate, was not capable of communicating well with people. I studied communication. I started taking singing lessons, and I actually had quite a nice voice. So that was a way of literally making myself heard. And yeah, what I also took away from that is this drive to really speak up for people who feel excluded or who are excluded. And yeah, an important lesson that maybe you cannot achieve a goal that is deep within you at the spot, at the moment, but never forget it. Never let life take away your dreams. If you have to take small steps, do that. So yeah, speaking of values, one of my personal values is perseverance, because I know that often it is not this major breakthrough that suddenly makes you an overnight success, but it's like these gradual small steps that help you like go forward and finally achieve the goals that you have set for yourself.
Absolutely. I mean, I didn't know that you were a shy person as a child, and that's something that you had to work on. And you are absolutely right. It's really making these small steps. And you you were once a shy person, and now it's you turned it around and it became your strength. You are a great communicator. You are out there. You are, yeah, telling your story. I think that's wonderful. So yeah, having the perseverance. I think I'm also one of them who had to cope a lot with being shy and having self doubts, and that you just need to get yourself out there and it's absolutely okay. Thank you for telling us the story. Yeah, thank you so much, Katja. Okay, before coming to the end of our show, I would love to do a quick word wrap with you. Are you ready to give me quick and short answers?
Okay, yes, let's go.
All right. Purpose,
Crucial.
diversity,
Empowerment and making the other feel as you would like to be respected by other people.
okay. And then I have empowerment. Let's take it one step further.
Yeah, empowerment, um, opening opportunities to find the leader in each and every one of us.
Wonderful. Cat.
Cat, yeah, I'm a cat lover. um, Good companions and positive energy to make your way through difficult times.
Yeah, that's right. And brains.
Brands personality, that is the word that comes up. As I said, brand personality is such a nice concept to work with. And yeah, don't treat branding as a marketing thing, as an abstract technical thing that you have to do. It's really something that you are.
That is beautiful. Great. Thank you, Katja. Yeah, for listeners, where will they find you?
Yeah, you can, of course, connect with me on social media. My social media name is Katja Noordam on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on Facebook. On Facebook, it's actually Katja Marianne Noordam because that name was already taken. And you can go to my websites. I'll mention one of those here because that's the one that's in English and in Spanish. The other one is only in Dutch. That's Cuts. No, now I'm mentioning the other one. It's fairchangeimpact.com. So there you can go to read blog posts. You can also download, for example, I have a free download that is about taking purpose-driven decisions. So what questions should you ask and where does this purpose-driven really stand for? Yes, and you can also find the announcements for my podcast when it's finally live, and you can subscribe to my news, my grow impact, embrace purpose, grow impact news. So I will keep you updated about everything that's going on in my business and in my social enterprise world.
Great. Yeah, Katja, thank you so much for being my guest today on Brands Talk. It really was a privilege having you talk about this so current and vital topic of how to brand for social purpose. And thank you for all your wisdom and your stories and also the pieces of advice we can directly put into practice. Thank you, Katja.
Thank you for inviting me. It was lovely talking to you.
Yeah, thanks to all for joining Brands Talk today. Give it some social love and leave your comments or drop me an email. I always value your precious feedback. Did you know you can also listen to this show as a podcast on your go? Just follow Brands Talk on your favorite platform. And if you are interested in learning more about my services, head over to my website, brigittebrands.com. Or if you are curious about my online course on personal branding, which is coming up soon, January, yeah, then click on the link in the comments below. I hope you will join me again when we dive into the world of brands life or by having me in your earbuds walking the talk. So bye for now. Let's shine. You deserve it. Thank you.